So what do I mean by addressing racism in your family? Again, as an anti-racist, I do believe that it is our job to call out and stomp out racism in a way that is respectful, kind, but it is going to make people uncomfortable. So you're not going to do this work and that. And so if you're with people, I like everybody like me. Stop that. We're going to have to get real about some stuff. And so what do I mean by stomping out racism in your own home? So last night, this was actually last night, yeah. Um, I'm talking to the kids because today they have an audition. And I'm very excited for them because um, within this audition, they are going to um, possibly get an agent. So they're very excited. My kids have wanted to do acting. They see me do it in the voiceovers, and they're like, that sounds fun. That looks, really cool. And I'm like, all right, let's see. We're doing this pandemic teaching, quarantine teaching, all this crap. So we're going to figure it out, right? So I'm preparing them for tomorrow. They're about to meet with this woman named Bernie, and I'm like, all right, you guys, let me show you how to sleep real quick. Let me show you like some basics. So you're not going in there like, just totally ill-prepared. And so Courtney starts doing one of her skits that she picked up, and she's doing her little skit. Art and I are cracking up because she's really good, right? And in the middle of the skit, I'm cooking something. Yes, I was having a late night snack, but I'm cooking something. And she says, damn, Mexican. No, I couldn't tell you what she was talking about. I couldn't tell you anything that happened right before that. All I knew is that that racist comment stopped me in my tracks. And I went, and my husband's going, oh no, here we go. Because he knows me. He's like, we're not. We start in our own home. And so I turned around and said, Courtney, help me understand, where does that fit in the context of the story? She's like, well, it was just said, and I just repeated it. Again, trying to excuse something that she knows is inappropriate, and she knows I'm not going to be okay with it. And I said, so because somebody else said it, it makes it okay for you to say it? And immediately she goes, no. So she knows. Now how far is this going to go? I said, look, this is a teachable moment, so let me teach you something. As an actress, you are going to have to stand on principles, and you're going to have to make decisions about what you will and won't do, and you're going to have to decide that. And it may sometimes cost you a job. It may, for some people it's cost them their reputation, but you got to stand on something. And so here's, how, and I shared with her how I make the decision of when and where I use racially motivated slurs or terms. And the one time I feel like it's appropriate is if we're doing like a documentary or a teaching seminar or something kind of project that's looking to show what racism looks like, and people need to hear it so that they can go, oh, well, so I hear those words. Those are racist sentiments. Yes. And so you may be portraying a racist in some of your projects. And she understood that. She was like, okay, so, if I have to use terms, being knowledgeable. I said, but if you're using it, and it sounded like in this terminology, it was more like a slur, but again, I don't remember the context. I know it wasn't appropriate. I said, so if you're using it just as a way to get a joke or a laugh out of people, absolutely not. Absolutely not. That joking about people's heritage and stereotypes, it's not funny. And so we don't need to perpetuate that as funny. So in those kind of situations, what do you do? And so she and I talked about, well, what do you do if you're in a situation where you're being approached by something? And I said, well, as a kid, what can you do? She's like, well, I can say that I'm uncomfortable using that word. Is there another way that we can use this joke? I said, absolutely, that's perfect. I said, what if they say, no, you have to say it? She's like, well, I don't know what to do then. I said, well, at that point, what you can do is one or two things. You can move through it, should you choose, or you can say, you know what, can we go on to another scene or something, and then we can come back to that once we got a chance to talk about it, because I'm uncomfortable with using that terminology, and because you have an image too. You have an image that you need to portray. But the first part is recognizing that that is a racist sentiment, and that I'm standing on principles around that. After a while, people will know, and they won't even, they'll know, okay, if we're using Courtney Holder, we're using, Dr. Shelley in this, they're not going to go for that. So we got to find another way to get that joke, get that laugh, or whatever that you're trying to portray. But if you don't stand on anything, on something, you'll fall for anything, and you never know where you could be perpetuating negative stereotypes and negative images about other cultures. And so I said, you can always just say, can you get my mom or dad involved so that we can have this conversation? And it's not about attacking, it's about a conversation, because I want to understand where you're coming from with this. Notice that was my first question. What was the context? Are we teaching? Are we making a point? Or are we just searching for a laugh? Or is it just like a filler? And we're just going to, throw out a random, N-word, or we're going to throw out a random, God knows what. And she really did understand that. That is what I mean by it starts at home. I'm not talking about you having, big old long dissertations and doing, anti-racist webinars in your home. I'm talking about if you see it, say something. If you hear it, say something. Correct your children. Correct your husband. Correct yourself. Correct each other. I say, yeah, you know what? That doesn't make me comfortable. I'm not comfortable with those kind of jokes. I'm not. And I'm very focused. I don't like R-word jokes. R-word is the R-E-D-N-E-C-K, because I really didn't. I remember when I first heard that term, and I was at a barbecue, and one of my uncles or somebody in the family was speaking about it. I said it, and I remember going to school the next day, and I was looking, and I was looking at all my white friends' necks. It's not red. And I remember saying, like, it's not red. I don't understand why they said your neck was red. I mean, this is maybe, what, 10, 11? And I just didn't understand. Like, why would you say that? I remember coming home to my mom and like, Mom, they don't have red necks. I don't understand why you would use that term. Like, their necks are not red. So why did you call them that? Where did they come from? And I was, is that a white people restaurant? But because, it's called the Cracker Barrel. And I have heard these terms my whole life, and I just thought they were normal. And I'm like, confused. Really confused. Like, why would they name it? Like, are black people allowed there? Is it just... I don't understand. And I really didn't get it. You gotta remember, I'm a very literal person, very analytical, always have been. Math teacher, science person like that. So those kind of things just did not make sense to me. The jokes, the euphemisms, the slurs, they did not make sense to me. I mean, when we refer to Latinos, and I'm like, well, Mom, his back is wet because he's sweating. Like, I don't understand why they would say that. I mean, why don't you just get him another shirt? Because they're sweating. Like, we're working. And this was amongst Latinos talking to each other. You effing, and I'm going, I don't get it. So sometimes when we have these terms that we're using in our homes, we've got to be very careful. And I'm not going to say I'm innocent of it. I mean, this is, and I don't want to say this is new, because it's not new. But the level of consciousness around this has been elevated recently. And so that means that we as adults have got to check our role in this, especially those of us who are parents, especially those of us who have strong beliefs one way or the other, and want to make a good impact on the world. We want to be positive. We don't want this to continue. But the first place we have to do is check our own homes, our own mouths, our own realities, our own people that we allow our children and ourselves to be around, and let them know it's not okay. And that means you have to stand up. So how do you learn to stand up to strangers out in public? You start at home. You start at home. You start